My son sent me a voice message meant for his wife. What I heard made me rewrite my entire will. Sarah, baby, I just left Mama's house. God, she's getting so forgetful. She asked me 3 times when we were coming for dinner. I'm telling you, it's getting worse. Those words poured through my phone speaker on an ordinary Tuesday morning. My son's voice laced with calculated deception, painting me as a confused old woman losing her grip on reality. Except I wasn't confused. I wasn't forgetful. And I hadn't asked him anything 3 times. What I was standing in my kitchen with his clean laundry in my hands, accidentally listening to a voice message meant for his wife, discovering that my own child was weaving lies to justify stealing everything I owned. Welcome back to Auntie Dorothy's Stories. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Your support truly encourages me to continue sharing these incredible tales with you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing from my sweethearts around the world. I'm Emma, 64 years old, and I need you to understand something about betrayal. It doesn't arrive with thunder and warning bells. It slips into your life disguised as concern, wrapped in the voice of someone you'd die for, someone you sacrificed everything to raise. It happens while you're doing their laundry, being the good mother you've always been. Completely unaware, they're plotting to warehouse you in a nursing home so they can sell your house and pocket the money. My son Jason wasn't calling to check on his elderly mother out of love. He was calculating, planning, scheming with his wife Sarah about how to get power of attorney, declare me incompetent, and steal the home his father and I spent 42 years building together. And baby, when I tell you what I did about it, when I tell you how I made sure he learned that underestimating a mother's intelligence is a fatal mistake, you're going to understand that sometimes the quietest revenge is the most devastating. That morning started like any other in my little house on Maple Street. I've lived here for 42 years. Harold and I bought it when Jason was a baby, scraping together every penny for the down payment. Over the years, we made it a home. Harold built the deck, and I planted the rose garden. We painted Jason's bedroom 3 times as he grew up. After Harold died 6 years ago, people kept telling me to sell. Too big for one person, they said. But this house was 42 years of memories, the place where I loved my husband and raised my son. That Tuesday, I was doing Jason's laundry. He'd stopped by Sunday with clothes, saying their washing machine was broken. Of course I'd help my boy. I'd just pulled the load from the dryer when my phone buzzed. Jason's name lit up the screen. I grabbed it thinking he was calling to say thank you, but it wasn't a call. It was a voice message, and it started playing on speaker. Jason's voice filled my kitchen, and what I heard froze my blood. Sarah, baby, I just left Mama's house. God, she's getting so forgetful. She asked me 3 times when we were coming for dinner. I'm telling you, it's getting worse. I stood there with his clean shirts in my hands, listening to him lie about me. I really think it's time we had that conversation about moving her into a facility. I talked to that lawyer Tom recommended. He said, get her to sign power of attorney now, while she's still competent enough that it won't be questioned. Once we have that, we can sell the house without her fighting us. It's worth about $480,000 in this market, babe. Even after paying for a few years in a facility, there's money left over. Money we could really use with Emma starting college and the boys coming up behind her. The laundry basket fell from my hands. I couldn't move. My son was plotting to steal my house and put me away like some inconvenient problem to be solved. I know it sounds harsh, but we've been struggling financially. My salary isn't enough. Your part-time job barely covers groceries. This house is just sitting here, way too big for one old woman. Did you see that loose railing on her front steps? She could break her neck. We'd actually be doing her a favor, keeping her safe in a place where professionals watch over her. There was a pause, then Jason responded to something Sarah said. I feel guilty too, but we have to think about our kids, our future. Mama's going to be taken care of, just in a different place. This way we can stop worrying about money. Fix our roof, afford that vacation we've been putting off. She's going to understand eventually. And if she doesn't, well, once we have power of attorney, it won't matter. The message ended. I stood in my kitchen staring at that phone like it had turned into a snake. My son was planning to steal my home and warehouse me so he could go on vacation. The loose railing he mentioned? I'd asked him to fix it 3 weeks ago. He left it broken deliberately, building his case that I couldn't maintain my own home. The forgetfulness he described? Complete fabrication. My mind was sharp. I did crossword puzzles every morning, managed my own finances, drove myself everywhere. But he was going to paint me as confused so he could justify taking everything. I sank into my kitchen chair, the same chair Harold and I refinished 30 years ago. Everything in this house had a story. And Jason wanted to sell it all for vacation money. When Harold died, it was tragic but natural. This was my own child, choosing to deceive me, to steal from me. I sat there for 2 hours trying to process it. Part of me wanted to call Jason immediately and confront him. But I realized if I did that, he'd just lie. He'd been lying for weeks, maybe months. What was one more lie? No, if I was going to handle this, I needed to be smart. I needed to let him think he was winning, right up until the moment I struck. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved more than life itself, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to show you that the people who should protect you are sometimes the ones you need protection from. Have you ever discovered someone you trusted was plotting against you? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own life. Jason had always been good about visiting. Every Sunday for dinner, plus check-ins during the week. Now I understood those visits had a different purpose. He was documenting my supposed decline, building his case. That Wednesday, Jason stopped by unexpectedly. Found me in my garden, pruning roses. Hey mama, I was in the neighborhood, thought I'd check on you. How are you feeling today? How was I feeling? Like my heart had been ripped out, but I didn't say that. Oh, I'm just fine, honey. These roses are really thriving this year. They look great, mama. Listen, I wanted to talk about what we discussed last month. Have you given any more thought to your future about what happens as you get older? Sarah and I worry about you in this big house all alone. There it was. The setup. Oh, Jason, I appreciate your concern, but I'm doing just fine. I watched his jaw tighten. Not the answer he wanted. That railing on your front steps is still loose. I keep meaning to fix it, but it's dangerous. What if you tripped? Maybe you could fix it next time you visit? He shifted uncomfortably. These maintenance issues are going to keep coming up. At your age, it might make sense to think about a place where you don't have to worry about repairs. Somewhere with people around, activities, so you wouldn't be so isolated. Isolated. I had a garden club every Thursday, church on Sundays, and my neighbor Patricia for coffee twice a week. But in Jason's narrative, I was a lonely old woman losing her grip on reality. I'll think about it, but not right now. Of course, Mama, no rush. We just want you safe and happy. After he left, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started documenting everything. Got a notebook, wrote down the date, time, exactly what Jason said. If he was building a case I was incompetent, I was building a case that I wasn't. That Thursday at the garden club, I asked Marianne about her son, the lawyer. I'm thinking about updating my will, making sure everything's in order. Would he help me? Of course, dear. I'll have him call you. That Sunday, when Jason and Sarah came for dinner with the grandkids, I watched them both with new eyes. Sarah, who I'd loved like my own daughter, who I helped plan her wedding, who I stayed with when each grandchild was born. She knew about the plan. She was part of it. After dinner, after the kids went to play outside, Jason and Sarah sat me down at my kitchen table. Mama, Sarah and I have been talking about the future, making sure everyone's taken care of. That's nice, honey. We worry about you, Emma. Sarah jumped in with fake concern. This house is so big, you're here all alone. What if something happened and you couldn't get to the phone? I have an alert button. The one you helped me set up, Jason. Right, but there's so much more to think about. The maintenance, property taxes, utilities. It's a lot for one person. Here it comes. We found this beautiful assisted living facility about 20 minutes from our house, Sarah said, pulling out a brochure. It's really nice. Activities every day, a dining room, housekeeping. You'd have your own apartment with people to help if you need anything. I looked at the brochure. Sterling Oaks Retirement Community, starting at $6,500 per month. That's very expensive. Well, that's the thing, Mama. We've been thinking about finances. This house is worth a lot now. If we sold it, the proceeds would cover assisted living for years, maybe the rest of your life. There it was. The plan laid out in the open, wrapped in concern and love. Sell my house? I know it's hard, but you have to be practical. This place is too much for you now. Your daddy and I bought this house. We raised Jason here. This is where Harold died, holding my hand. We know, Emma, Sarah said with fake tears. That's what makes it so hard, but think about what Harold would want. He'd want you safe and taken care of. Using Harold against me. That was low. I need to think about this. It's a big decision. Of course. Take all the time you need. We just want you to consider what's best for your future. After they left, I cried. Not because I was confused or scared. I cried because my son valued my house more than me, but I was done crying by bedtime. I'd made a decision of my own, one Jason and Sarah wouldn't see coming. Don't forget to subscribe, because what Eleanor does next proves that underestimating a mother's intelligence is a mistake you only make once. Do you think children have a right to make decisions about aging parents' lives against their wishes? Or should parents maintain complete autonomy? Share your thoughts. Monday morning, I met with Marianne's son, David Chen, at his downtown office. Professional and kind, he offered coffee and asked what I needed. I want to change my will, and I need to make sure it's airtight, that no one can challenge it or claim I wasn't in my right mind. I told him everything, the voice message, Jason's plan for power of attorney, the lies about my mental state. David listened, his expression growing serious. Miss Emma, this sounds like potential elder abuse, financial exploitation. Have you considered reporting this? Jason hasn't actually done anything yet. He's just planning to. And he's my son. I don't want him prosecuted. I just want to make sure he can't do what he's planning. David nodded. Let's make your wishes crystal clear and legally protected. We'll revoke any existing powers of attorney. Rewrite your will with a very specific language, and I recommend a capacity assessment from a doctor to formally evaluate your mental competence. That way, if anyone challenges the will claiming you weren't of sound mind, we'll have medical documentation. Over 2 weeks, David and I built my new will. Nothing like the old one. My house, my savings, everything would be divided among my 3 grandchildren, held in trust until they turned 25. Jason and Sarah would have no access, no ability to manage it. A professional trustee would handle everything. I added a clause specifically stating Jason was excluded not from lack of love, but due to his expressed intention to sell my home and place me in a facility against my wishes for his own financial benefit. I wanted it in writing why I'd made this choice. I also set aside $50,000 for charity, the local food bank, and a scholarship fund at my church. Money that could have gone to Jason, now helping people who actually needed it. The capacity assessment was almost funny. Dr. Sarah Phillips put me through memory tests, reasoning, basic math, and current events. I passed everything easily. Miss Emma, your cognitive function is excellent, better than many people half your age. I'll prepare a detailed report stating you're absolutely capable of making your own decisions. With that documentation, David prepared the final will. I signed it with 2 witnesses present, neither family nor having any stake in my estate. Everything legal, proper, completely unbreakable. One more thing. I don't want Jason to know about any of this until after I'm gone. Attorney-client privilege. Unless you tell someone, no one will know until the will is read. Over the following weeks, I played my part perfectly. When Jason visited, I let him think I was considering assisted living. I even toured Sterling Oaks with him and Sarah. Walked those sterile hallways, nodded at appropriate times. What do you think, Mama? Could you see yourself being happy here? It's nice, very clean. The people seem friendly. I could see the excitement in his eyes. He thought he was winning. They have a waiting list. If you were interested, it might be good to put your name down now. Let me think about it a little longer. At home that night, I sat in the living room where Harold and I used to watch TV. I looked at our furniture, photos on the walls, the marks on the doorframe where we measured Jason's height every year. Part of me felt guilty. But then I'd remember that voice message, remember him plotting to sell the home his father and I built together. He'd made his choice. I was making mine. The hardest part was keeping up the relationship. Every Sunday dinner felt like a performance. But I did it for my grandchildren, who had no idea what their parents were planning. Emma, Michael, and little Tommy deserved to have their grandmother in their lives. One Sunday, Emma asked me something that nearly broke my heart. "Grandma, are you going to move away?" "I heard Mommy and Daddy talking. They said you might go live somewhere else." "I don't want you to go. I love coming here." I hugged her tight. "Baby girl, I'm not going anywhere as long as I can help it. This is Grandma's house, and you'll always be welcome here. And you know what? When I'm gone, this house and everything in it is going to make sure you and your brothers are taken care of. You'll be able to go to any college you want. That's what Grandma and Grandpa Harold worked for." She smiled and hugged me again. I thought about how different her future would be from what her parents were planning. Jason and Sarah thought they'd use my money for vacations. Instead, my grandchildren would have education funds, down payments for first homes, a foundation their parents couldn't touch. If you've ever had to make an impossible choice between loyalty and justice, hit that subscribe button because you need to hear how this story ends. What would you do if you discovered your child was planning to exploit you financially? Would you confront them or handle it like Eleanor? Let me know in the comments. 3 months after I changed my will, Jason and Sarah got impatient. "Mama, we really need to talk seriously about your plans. We've been very patient, but we can't wait forever." "Sort it out?" I asked, though I knew exactly what he meant. "Your living situation, making sure you're properly cared for. Next, it's time to move forward with Sterling Oaks. They have an opening next month. We don't want you to miss it." "Next month? That seems very soon." "We've given you plenty of time," Sarah said with an edge in her voice. "At some point, you have to accept this is what's best. And we need to start putting the house on the market," Jason added. "Spring is the best time to sell. We should list it soon." They weren't even pretending anymore. This wasn't about my well-being. Yet this was their timeline, their financial needs. I haven't agreed to sell my house. "Mama," Jason used that patient, condescending tone. "We've been over this. You can't maintain this place. You need the money from the sale for proper care. I can maintain my house just fine, and I have plenty of money. Do you think so?" Sarah asked, showing her true colors. "You're living on Social Security and a small pension. Do you know how much assisted living costs? How long do you think your savings will last? Longer than you'd think?" Jason's jaw tightened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not as helpless or confused as you've been telling people. It means I know exactly what I'm doing and what my finances are. And it means I'm not selling my house or moving anywhere I don't want to go." Heavy silence. Jason and Sarah looked at each other. "Mama, have you been taking your medications?" Sometimes when people don't take medications regularly, they become confused, paranoid even. I almost laughed. There was the gaslight. I wasn't on any medications except blood pressure pills, and they knew it. "I'm not confused, Jason. I'm clear-headed enough to know when someone's lying to me." "No one's lying," Sarah said quickly. "We're trying to help." "Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're trying to steal my house so you can fix your roof and go on vacation." Jason's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the voice message you left me 3 months ago. The one meant for Sarah, where you talked about getting power of attorney, selling my house whether I wanted to or not, using the money for your own purposes." I watched my son's face change. Fear, then anger, then desperate attempt to recover. "Mama, if you heard that, you misunderstood. I was just thinking out loud." "You never meant for me to hear it. That's the only thing you didn't mean. Everything else, you meant every word." "Emma, you're taking this out of context. Don't. Don't you dare try to explain this away. You both know what you were planning. You were going to convince everyone I was incompetent, get legal control, sell my home, and take my money while pretending it was for my own good." "This paranoia isn't like you, Mama," Jason said. "Maybe we need to get you checked by a doctor." "I've already been checked by a doctor. Dr. Sarah Phillips did a complete capacity assessment 3 months ago. According to her official report, my cognitive function is excellent. I'm completely competent to make my own decisions, so stop pretending I'm confused, because there's medical documentation proving otherwise." Jason's face went completely pale. You had a capacity assessment? Why? To protect myself from you. Those words hung in the air. My grandchildren were outside, too far to hear their parents being confronted with their own greed. Mama, Jason's voice was pleading now. You don't understand, we're in trouble financially. The mortgage, car payments, Emma needs braces, we're barely making ends meet. This house is worth $500,000, and you're one person. We weren't trying to hurt you, we were trying to solve a problem. By stealing from me. It's not stealing if it's going to be ours eventually anyway. The words burst out before he could stop them. You're gonna leave it to me in your will, so what's the difference if we handle it now when we need the money? The difference is it's my house, my life, and my choice. You have no right to make decisions about any of it without my consent. The fact that you think you do, that you'd lie and scheme and try to declare me incompetent to get what you want, tells me everything about the man you've become. Don't talk to me like I'm some stranger. I'm your son. I've taken care of you, visited every week. You visited every week to build your case against me. Every visit was documentation you could use to claim I couldn't take care of myself. You left that railing broken on purpose. You told people I was forgetful when I wasn't. You turned your concern into a weapon, and that's something I'll never forgive. Sarah stood abruptly. We should go. This isn't productive. No, it's not. And I don't think Sunday dinners are going to work anymore. Not when I know what you really think of me. Mama, please, can't we work this out? Find some middle ground? The middle ground would have been you respecting my choices, but you didn't want to compromise. You wanted control. You wanted my house. And you were willing to lie and manipulate to get it. There's no middle ground with that kind of betrayal. They left shortly after, gathering the kids with excuses about homework. Emma hugged me extra tight, sensing something wrong. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby girl. Always remember that. No matter what happens, Grandma loves you. After they drove away, I stood on my front porch, the same porch where Harold spun me around 42 years ago, and felt the full weight of what happened. I confronted my son. I'd ended the charade. I'd drawn a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But I'd also protected myself, my home, and my grandchildren's future. And that had to be enough. Don't forget to subscribe, because this story proves that sometimes the strongest stance you can take is refusing to be anyone's victim. Even when that someone is your own child. Would you have handled this differently? Would you have confronted your child or stayed silent? Share your thoughts in the comments. The weeks that followed were hard. Jason called a few times, trying to smooth things over, trying to convince me I'd overreacted. Sarah sent a long email about stress and misinterpretation, but I didn't respond. The grandchildren still needed me, though. I arranged to see them separately, ice cream or movies, making sure they knew their grandmother loved them even if things with their parents were complicated. Are you mad at Mommy and Daddy? Emma asked one afternoon. I'm disappointed in some choices they made. But I'm not mad at you, and I never will be. Time passed. Seasons changed. My roses bloomed again the next spring, and I was still there to see them, still in my house, still independent, still making my own choices. I heard through friends that Jason and Sarah were struggling financially, had to take out a second mortgage. Part of me felt guilty and wondered if I should help. But then I'd remember that voice message, and I knew I'd made the right choice. My grandchildren would benefit from my legacy when the time came. They'd have opportunities their parents would have squandered. And that was justice. Years later, when my time finally came, David Chen read my will to the family. I wasn't there to see Jason's face when he learned he'd been cut out completely, when he discovered that the house and money he'd schemed to take were going to his children instead, held in trust where he couldn't touch them. I wasn't there to see him realize that his greed had cost him everything he'd been trying to gain. But I imagine his shock, his anger, his realization that his mother had been 10 steps ahead of him the entire time. My grandchildren got their education funds, their down payments for first homes, their security. The food bank and scholarship fund got their donations. And my house, my beautiful house full of 42 years of memories, was sold with the proceeds going exactly where I wanted them to go. Jason called David's office repeatedly after the will was read, demanding to know how this could be legal, insisting I must have been manipulated, claiming I wasn't of sound mind. But David simply sent him Dr. Phillips' capacity assessment, the medical proof that I'd been completely competent when I made every single decision. There was nothing Jason could do, no case he could make, no lie that would work. For once in his life, he had to face consequences he couldn't charm or manipulate his way out of. And somewhere, I like to think, Harold was proud of me. Proud that I'd stood my ground. Proud that I'd protected what we built together. Proud that I'd made sure our legacy went to people who would appreciate it, rather than people who'd tried to steal it. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means drawing hard lines. And sometimes it means accepting that the child you raised isn't the person you hoped they'd be, and protecting yourself accordingly. That's the lesson I learned at 64 years old, standing in my kitchen with my son's voice coming through my phone, plotting to take everything from me. The lesson that blood doesn't give anyone the right to exploit you, that family doesn't mean accepting abuse, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be anyone's victim. I hope my grandchildren understand that someday. I hope they know that their grandmother fought for them, protected their future, and made sure that greed didn't win. And I hope they never, ever treat their own parents the way their father treated me. Because that's the real legacy I wanted to leave. Not just money or property, but the understanding that integrity matters, that people's dignity matters, and that you stand up for what's right, even when it breaks your heart to do it. Thank you for listening to my story. If it taught you anything, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to protect yourself, even from family. Especially from my family. And remember, the people who truly love you will never make you choose between your dignity and their comfort. Anyone who does isn't acting out of love, no matter what they claim. What would you have done in Eleanor's situation? Would you have given Jason another chance, or would you have protected yourself the way she did? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Because stories like this remind us all that sometimes the hardest battles we fight are with the people we love most. I will see you again in my next one.